Hi, and welcome to my Ableton Live tutorial series called Quick Tips. My name is Don John Phillip. I'm a producer and Ableton certified trainer in Bangalore, India. In this series, we're going to be going through a bunch of tips you can use along with Ableton Live, and we're also going to be using the new and improved Ableton Live version 10. So here we go. Okay, so for today's video, we're going to be talking about stacking MIDI effects. And what I have over here is I have a single track with a grand piano loaded on. And I've used MIDI effects to pretty much create multiple sounds within that grand piano. So let's listen to what I have first. Okay, and I want you to listen to this. I want you to guess how many notes do you think are there in this MIDI clip. You know, most people will guess, there's quite a few notes because you can hear a melody, you can hear some bass notes, you can hear, some chords. There's a lot going on, and what usually people do is they guess that, there's quite a few notes going on. But then when I open up this MIDI clip, and if you look at it, I'm only playing one note, that is a C note. Okay, and what I've done is I've used this whole list of MIDI effects stacked together in order to give me, varied sounds just from that one note. So let's go through what I did. So the first thing I did is I use an arpeggiator. And I use this arpeggiator because I want to make sure that this one note, okay, is repeating itself every half bar. Okay, so the length of this clip is 2 bars. So I want to make sure that this note is repeating itself every half bar. So in the arpeggiator, what I've done is I made sure the rate is half bar so that it repeats every half bar. I've opened up the gate a bit so that it repeats, so that that note sustains a bit, and I've made sure hold is down so that it continues to play, right? So that was the first thing I did to make sure that the note is played every half bar. Now the second thing I had to do is I had to make sure that the notes are changing. I don't just want to hear a C note. So the next device I use is pitch, and I automated pitch, okay, through the pitch envelope. Okay. So over here in my envelope section on my clip, I can go ahead and load up pitch. And in my pitch, you can see that I've actually automated my pitch. So I'm going from a C to a G to an A and back to an F by changing the pitch, right? And that's going to give it some motion in terms of notes. So when I play those together, the arpeggiator and the pitch together, you get this sound. Right? So my note is repeating every half note, as well as the pitch is now changing in accordance to the semitones that I've set on my actual pitch device, right? And you can see that the automation is set over there. All right, so that's the first thing I did. Now moving on from that, I wanted to add, some more sounds to it to make it a little bit more complex. So what I did was I started loading effects in a rack. Okay, now what this rack is going to allow me to do is it's going to allow me to use effects in parallel rather than in a series. Now by default, all my effects are in a series, which means they're one after the other, and every effect will affect the other. Okay, whereas in a parallel effects rack, what's going to happen is each effect won't affect each other. They will all run separately. All right, so in this effects rack, I have a chord section, a melody section, and a bass section. So in the chord section, what I've done was I've used this device called chord. Now what chord is going to do is it's going to give me these bunch of shift knobs, and each shift knob will allow me to add an extra note to the already existing note, which will give me a chord. Now when I add these together, and if you listen to it, this is what it sounds like, right? I now have a chord that's going on over there. And after the chord, I've just used a velocity device, and I've brought down this out high, which is going to bring down the actual velocity because I don't want it to be too harsh. And what I've done is after this chord chain, I've also added a melody chain and a bass chain, pretty much doing the same thing but differently. So if you listen to my melody chain, I've gone ahead and used chord along with an arpeggiator, which I've modified to give me a melody line. And if I move further down, I have a bass chain where I've used a pitch device along with an arpeggiator, another arpeggiator, okay, in order to give me a quarter note bass line. And I've also brought down the velocity. And when I have all those together, I now have a melody line, chords, and bass, all from one single MIDI note, which is pretty cool. And at the end of this chain, what I've used is something called scale. Okay, and I've used the C major preset, which is going to make sure all my notes fall into that C major scale, so that none of my notes really fall out of scale and, you know, don't sound out of place. Alright, so this is a quick and easy way to use stacked MIDI effects, to use MIDI effects together to get new sounds and to really explore your progression of notes. This is a great way to help Ableton Live, to get Ableton Live to help you compose your own songs. You know, it can really help you think out of the box, and when you hit writer's block, or if you just can't think of what to do next, this is a great way to use effects creatively and able to help you make better sounds. So hope that helps, and there you go. Alright, hope that video helps. If it does, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you love it, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comment section below.